Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so talk a little Lakers. It's New Year's Eve. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. My days, I've been asleep most of the day, to be honest with you. I don't know, nothing bad, no bad feelings at all. My Lakers gave me plenty of good night's dreams because they beat the Atlanta Hawks on LeBron James' birthday, and that gave us a nice little boost to end the season. We've had a long, tough start to our season this year, and to have the calendar year end with us being a winner, it's a good thing. Now, there was something that came to mind. I was thinking about, and I'm one of those guys who loves to find the right value. So if right now I'm looking at my picks and I'm seeing is they're valued super high, meaning everybody wants them from us, but I don't think value high is the right way to describe it, because obviously people want to take it from us for the cheap. So they're valued low, even though the demand is high, which, as far as I can tell, is not really an actual functioning of anything. That's just what people want us to think what it is worth. If you think about it, high demand does not equal low price. It doesn't, not necessarily. And in this case, it's our desperation that works against us with these picks, and why people want us to give them away for little to nothing, but yet everybody demands them from us when they when they want to talk to us. See what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense. So if everybody wants this, then why do I have to let go of it for nothing? See, that's the market lying to us about what we have. So what we do is we value what we have at the price that you want it to be at. But maybe there's some kind of way you can finesse, and this is just something that it probably is not possible, but as you try to dream, you hope for some leverage that you cannot find. Maybe there's a strategy where we could put the picks on the table for a time at a price. And if for some reason no one wants to take them at that time, we take them off the table. I don't know how else to do it. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those situations where it's like, look, the kind of situation I'm in, even though I haven't done a bunch of full thinking on this, so I don't know if this actually dots every I and cross every T. I'm just saying, if I had a position of leverage from which I could use, it would look something like this. I would say, hey, look, everybody, the threshold for the Los Angeles Lakers to save their season is about 7 or 8 more games. Within those 7 or 8 games, my picks I'm willing to let go of for this, and this level of value until those 8 game time is up. After those 8 games are up, I've come to the conclusion that my season is worthless. And at that point, those picks are no longer available to any of y'all for any price. And we'll reconvene if we want to trade those picks at the end of the season at a price that stands for me as well. If for some reason I decide my next season is one that requires me to move those picks. See what I'm saying? But for the rest of this year, since I have these valueless picks that everyone seems to want, they're only going to be on tab for you guys for this amount of time. And then my worthless picks, and nobody decides to take them, just simply ain't on the market no more. You see what I'm saying? That's the leverage I would hope to have. Now, how I gain that leverage, if that leverage is real or whatever, I didn't do the full thinking of that. I don't know if we can actually do that. Then I tell you the reason why is because people just call you bluff and leave you sitting there. Like, okay, fine. You know what? I mean, they don't want the picks that bad to make them overpay for them. But what I'm saying is, somebody wants some damn picks, and they're counting on us getting so damn desperate that we just ultimately give them away at some point to save our season. And what I'm saying is, everybody needs to be aware of where that point is. It's not really about the leverage anymore. It's more so about understanding when your season is done and when it's time to say, I can't get better if I trade these picks. Right? Now, Trevor Lane was saying something that kind of blows that out of water in a way. I was just listening to his conversation. He was talking about AD's injury and everything that's going on with this. And essentially his thing was, well, we can, try to reconvene at the end of the season with the picks, and, guys, we can try to go after certain guys and maybe That would kind of be the only way to go. People would ultimately take our picks from us, and then we can move on and that kind of thing. But my thing is, yeah, if we make trades to bring pieces in that make us better for next season and the following season, that's good. But I have a strange feeling that even if those pieces are good enough to get us where we want to go this season, we're going to look up in the coming years when 27 comes around and 29 comes around, and we're going to wish we had our pick, even if we did what we were supposed to do this season. Now, that's not something you can really, you don't know how you're going to look then. Making that decision can sometimes be a mistake depending on what happens. But the way I see it is mortgaging our future has done nothing good for us. So if we trade it just for a qualifier to make us a little better and maybe for an extra couple of carryovers for next season, which is what he's saying, if those carryovers for next season don't give you the opportunity to replenish those picks. In other words, if you go trade for a Bogdanovich, he balls out this year, you re-sign him for a certain amount and he doesn't ball out like that again, and you got him on tap for another couple years at an average price and you didn't give up your picks, that's the type of strategy that put us in this position. So the players that we have to make sure that carry over, we got to try to get them without giving up both of those damn picks. Even if they are pieces we want to have in the future, because what I'm finding in my head happens is when we give up those picks, whatever we have to be able to be locked into. And what that means is this Russell Westbrook thing we tried to undo. We gave away Kuzma in the first rounder and all that, brought him here 2 years, and now when it's time to either re-sign him or trade him at the deadline because he's an expiring contract, we're kind of in no man's land to where we're almost about ready to let his value walk. And while that could be decent strategy for what we're looking at, if you would have zoomed out over the last 2 years, that's terrible strategy for what we're looking at. And if you zoom out to about 3 or 4 years down the road from here, that's still terrible strategy. You got to start letting your value stay in your hands. And we keep letting that value disintegrate by making bad trades. So it's like we have missing value. And this is why I always talk about the Lakers trying to reset their situation instead of trading for more picks, trading for more contracts. It's like, yeah, you can trade for those pieces, but you're still left with that foundation that is not stable. That's the problem. So you're constantly waiting for that next injury. You're constantly hoping that the players that you're trading for don't necessarily have to be retraded because they suck. And that's the problem the Lakers keep running into. We don't have enough to undo what we need to do in time. This is what we run into. Now, we need to undo this crap with like 7 or 8 more games, like I said. That's just in theory. But that would never have been the case. We would have never been in this situation if people would have had a straight foundation. We would have had more leverage. We would have had more assets to trade with. The team would have been better, obviously. We wouldn't have our season running into a situation like that. All of those things are affected by how we handle these type of things. And so that's my thing about trading picks. It's like, I've committed to trading picks to save the season earlier in the season. And now, as the season looks like it's a waste, and I start to embrace the idea that the season is a waste, now I start to value my picks differently based on what it is that I know is going to be my present 5 minutes from now, which is my future. It's like, I'm going to have to deal with this very soon. Very soon. 2025, 2027, 2029, whatever those years are. I think it's 27 to 29. I'm about to be in 23 tomorrow. 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27. The Lakers don't necessarily have a proper foundation, and you're essentially saying that potentially you're going to go forward into those years without that foundation. So every season you're waiting for somebody's ankle to roll. Every season you're signing Damian Jones, Kendrick Nunn. Every single season these things are going to happen because you're lacking that value that was never made up from all them bad trades and not resetting your situation. Resetting your situation undoes all those trades. Resetting your situation essentially takes everything on your cap and resets it. Trades all the stuff of value and gets picks back for it. Now, it ain't going to be the same caliber picks, because you have somebody else's picks and you're likely trading great player to that team for which those picks likely aren't going to be very good if great player has a great career with that team. However, that can't be a deterrent to me trading player for picks. Why? Two reasons. One, if I need to move on from player, I just need to move on from player, period. Two, that's not the end of the value of the picks that you're acquiring. Why? Because those picks can be re-traded at whatever value you're able to. So that means once I get those picks, if they're not so good, it doesn't necessarily mean I can't negotiate a way to trade those picks for twice of what they're worth. Get me those picks, I'll show you I can do it. And that is what a genie needs, a GM who thinks like that. You think me trading Anthony Davis to Atlanta and Atlanta turning into a championship team, turning my 5 picks into not so good picks is a bad thing for me? Hell no, those picks aren't bad at all. I can trade them individually for different stuff that'll make it so that I'm getting a little more of that value back. Fleecing somebody's GM with just one of those picks for just a little bit better of a player than that pick is worth. Or trading that pick for just a pick that's a little bit better than that pick. When you consider what the Boston Celtics did for Jason Tatum, the Philadelphia 76ers in that situation, when the 76ers decided they wanted Markelle Fultz instead of Jason Tatum, even though everybody knew Jason Tatum was the best player in the draft that year. So what did they do? They had a pick, a first-round pick, their 3rd pick in the draft. They were able to trade it for the 1st pick in the draft, and boom, they got the player of the future. Jason Tatum's pick wasn't the pick that they had. The Celtics had a different pick, but because they had some picks, they were able to fleece the picks they had for what it is that ultimately was the best thing for them. It's how I think. Ain't no first-round pick a bad first-round pick. Why? Because I can trade first-round picks to anybody for any price. You can't tell me there's a bad pick when I see picks. Royce O'Neal went for a first-round pick, fam. If I had Royce O'Neal on my squad for any reason, I could have got a first-round pick just out of that. And you're trying to tell me that if I can get 5 and 6 picks and 4 or 5 swaps for AD, that I can't turn that into a future? You sure I can't turn that into a future? You sure? Because I promise you I can. I'm certain I can. Especially if I got good scouts. Yeah, I could trade one of those first-round picks for 2 lesser first-round picks. Take one of those picks, attach it to another player, and find a good player. Right? Develop him, trade him for 2 picks, second-rounders, take one of those picks and one of those other contracts and trade that somewhere. For what? A first-round pick. You see what I'm saying? I could turn 1 pick into 3 picks in probably a year and a half. Maybe not even that long. If I know what I'm doing and I know how to negotiate. And I got an owner that just kind of just lets me do my thing without having a Knights of the Round Table in the way telling me to go after said player, this said player, that said player who's going to keep me from being able to do all this. Okay? Just give me a handful of quick picks, fam. I'm going to get you your value. I promise. I will get your value. You know what I mean? And so that's how it has to be. Now, granted, I'm not a GM. There's a lot to know about the science itself to be able to execute that. I'm a guy talking. But what I'm telling you is a good GM ain't just talking. He's going to be able to pull that off and he's going to know how to do it. So that's what it's about. It's about taking the value of what you have and flipping it for something that is more, as opposed to what the Lakers have been doing for the last 5 years, which is flipping something for less. You know what I'm saying? They're just hustling backwards. And so when you hustle backwards, you come up with less and you end up broke. And that is what the Lakers have been doing for the last 5 years. They got AD and Bron and proceeded to hustle backwards. And so, yes, do I want to trade AD for a bunch of picks? Yes. Do I think I can get probably more picks for him if he's playing better than now when he's hurt? Yes. If I would have traded him 3 weeks ago when he was doing all the big stuff, I could have got all the picks ever. Maybe even some fantastic players, maybe even Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or somebody. Who knows what I could have actually done if I would have shopped him at that price. Who knows? But the reality is you shop him at this price, you're going to have to settle for less. You know what I mean? You're going to have to settle for maybe 4 picks, 3 picks in a swap. And a lot of fans, they're going to dupe him even lower than that because it's real low-hanging fruit to make fun of Laker players at this point. So Westbrook, AD, all of them, they're looked at as lesser just from the sheer aura that's been around the team for the last 2 years, which is why I told the Lakers to fire Coach Vogel sooner than they did. See, these are the type of things that correlate to the things that ultimately go wrong. It ain't just hustling backwards. It's also not firing people in time. It's also not setting a price tag and a certain date on your things or what have you. There's certain things you just have to do so that you don't find yourself in this situation. And the Lakers ultimately did those things the wrong way, and that's why we're here. So, look, now, another one of these little things that I wanted to do is turn on the camera and because I had a little funny little saying that I made up while I was listening to Trevor Lane as he was talking about certain players that we want to bring in that we can carry over. 2 players that I would love to have back. So the way that it went was the Lakers need eyes and oohs. Eyes and oohs. That's how it went. Eyes and oohs. Kyle Kuzma and Kyrie Irving, eyes and oohs. That's what we need. I'm not going to say that you take one pick and trade it for Kuzma and take the other pick and trade it for Kyrie, because that's not what they're worth. They're worth more than that. They simply are. You're not. I don't believe in this market, especially from our seat, we can pull that off. No, that's not the leverage we had. Now, if we had a real foundation with a plethora of picks, we might have the leverage to be able to trade those guys for a little bit less than what we're probably going to be asked to pay right now. But other than that, no, that's not just what it is. So that's what the Lakers need. Eyes and oohs, eyes and oohs, eyes and oohs. But we're not going to get them because we don't have a shark in place with a good foundation. So if you're waiting for Rob Pelinka to pull that off of what we have, nah. And another thing that we're going to have to understand, and this is something that we're not going to like, but this is the reality of it. There are some players on this team that are playing well. Okay? There's some players that's playing well. And there are also some guys who probably have some cachet elsewhere teams that would want. Problem is, those are players we want too. The players that we like on our team, that we like seeing run around right now, those are probably the only players anybody wants from us. That's something that a lot of fans of their respective teams, that part don't get through. That part don't get through. It's like I'm supposed to win every trade. Clearly, you're supposed to take my trash for the best stuff. Clearly, what I have is supposed to be worth all that I want. But that's definitely not what goes on in the NBA. That ain't how that work at all. You had better be playing well, and then you better be having someone play well that you would be willing to let go of while they're playing well. And that's never something anybody's want to do. That makes no sense to nobody. But then everybody wants to sell players when they're struggling. You get a guy like right now, guys want to trade Anthony Davis. Like, who the hell wants to pick up Anthony Davis when he can't play, guys? We got to be willing to part ways with him when he's scoring 60 and getting 17. Like I said 3 weeks ago, that's how you get the value for him. It's making the decision when you're in a high space with all that crap. That's when you be like, yep, that's time. Let's get out of here. That's when you cut bait. But see, nobody wants to do things correctly. You know what I mean? So it looks foreign when things are done correctly. It's like taboo. What do you mean the Lakers traded AD when he was playing so well? That doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does if you're in this specific seat. In fact, you would better do it if you're in this specific seat, or you're doing it wrong. And so this is what it is. Like, let's normalize what the right thing to do for yourself actually is. And even if it looks like something that should not be conventionally done, it should be assessed properly. In our case, it's trading AD, breaking up this team and resetting our timeline. Conventionally, it looks stupid. To anybody talking on ESPN, they're probably going to tell you that's not necessarily the way to go. But the reason why they're going to tell you not to is because of fear. It's fear. Fear is why the Lakers shouldn't do what they're supposed to do based on those who are talking about the Lakers. It ain't because it's not the correct thing for any other franchise to do. It's because they don't think that our franchise front office is capable of choosing the right thing for themselves. Least of all, because someone like myself, a fan, doesn't want them to? Is that what the ESPN is telling these people? Because I get on here every day as a diehard Laker fan telling y'all we need to blow this thing up. And that I'm happy with AD and Bron if they're healthy, but I can't count on them to stay healthy. So that's why I'm ready to move on. It ain't because I don't like the guys because they can't play. They've already won a championship for me. I've won. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at as a fan. It's like I'm not afraid to reset my timeline because I'm seeing the result of a reset timeline right now. I'm doing that losing. I'm doing that losing. So why wouldn't I want to lose correctly when choosing to lose a certain way, which is the exact same thing I'm doing anyway, can ultimately put me in a position to make it so I don't have to lose anymore. Can you believe it? The same losing I'm doing right now, I can just lose differently and it will fix my situation. Losing, and you're still going to lose, but you're going to lose digging a further hole that you're going to have to pull yourself out of anyway, eventually. Or you could start pulling yourself out of that hole as to which the losing looks the same exact way. And you telling me, ESPN and all these other guys, that I don't want to do this? And I should continue to talk as if I don't want to do this? Because of fear? No. Fear is what put us in this situation in the first place. Fear of trusting people outside of our organization. Fear of life without a superstar. fear of life without LeBron James now that he's here, life without AD now that he's here, fear of firing humans that need to be fired for their work, like the fear of punishing people for what it is they actually do. It seems it's like you want your politics to kind of run the score, and if people did certain things they shouldn't have did, we didn't see it because it doesn't benefit us to see it. That's kind of how Genie's working right now. I would rather keep Rob around and keep Clutch around, even though they've shown me poor results, because parting ways with them, I don't know, maybe it's something that provides her a great deal of anxiety or something. I don't know, but that's why we're losing. It's that fear, the promotion of that fear and the adherence to that fear that ultimately keeps Genie in a position where she's losing the wrong way. So that's what it comes down to. It's not like your results of what you're seeing is going to give you opposite results and therefore the winning will come if you continue doing this. No, that's the point. That is the point. We are doing the same losing. So that's why I'm like, look, don't have LeBron James, Anthony Davis dragging along, having their careers and their confidence or what have you, dragging along because of the fact that we're afraid to do things correctly and are listening to people telling us that we're afraid to do things correctly. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not what you should be doing at all. What you should be doing is thanking LeBron James for being here and blessing him with the ability to walk away as soon as possible. Genie should want to do that this season for him, because the thing that she's trying to do is make sure that he's happy. That's what she says she wants. That's what the words that she wants people to believe. But if you're doing things correctly, then you understand that you can't make him happy. And if you're a woman of your word in that way, then you're going to make sure you do what you got to do to ensure that he can be happy, and that means letting go of him. For the betterment of him and for the betterment of you, because that's what everything is showing us. Now, you know, it's going to take some voiding of contracts and letting people go. I don't know if that's feasible. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if that's right for leverage. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's not as simple as doing right and wrong in situations where somebody this big, LeBron James, is talking about walking away. But what I'm telling you is, if you're a person of your word, then you're going to absorb whatever come with that. And you're going to see the fruit in that, because your word is your bond, and your word is going to carry you forward into the future. So if anybody believes in you in any way, it's going to be because you either kept your word or provided grace where it was necessary to break it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Provided grace when it was necessary to break it, is to which that would be when you have this binding contract in place and you can't hold up your end of the bargain for Bron. That's what that is. So when you can get up there and say whatever you say, Rob Pelinka, I got you here for 3 years and we're on board and the team is trash, right? So I'm still mad at Rob Pelinka's statements. Even if LeBron James ain't, I am. You don't come at me like that. If I'm Bron, that's how I feel. You don't come at me like that. You're going to remind me of my contractual obligations when I'm running around on a bad basketball team for your team? Running around on a bad basketball squad for your team? And mind you, I ain't missing no games. It ain't like you had to call and find out where I'm at. I'm here. And you're going to come at me talking about, please be reminded that you on this thing for 3 years and I'm on board with you. Clearly we can see that, even though no moves have been made whatsoever. So it's not very clear at all. But clearly I'm on your side, Bron, because, well, here this statement is telling you, you better believe that. And I'm like, Rob, brother, I don't know who told you to write that statement. But just like I said yesterday, that is not the statement I'd want to see. And it's not a statement that sat well with me, especially after what went down in Brooklyn with Kyrie. You shouldn't be talking to LeBron like that. I'm just saying, it ain't even a good look. It's not. It's really not. That's not the statement. That's not the position the United owners want to take. And if that's what the position the owners are going to take, then it's going to be a very ugly collective bargaining situation. People need to do things correctly, man. That's the bottom line. People have been trying to do things the wrong way for a long time. And now it's getting to a point where they can't do things the wrong way no more in a plethora of different ways in the NBA. So what's happening is people want to pass the buck and blame other people for the environments they create. I'm mad at KD because he wants out. Yeah, but your situation is crap because you didn't reset your timeline when you should have, and you've been mortgaging your future for 2 or 3 eras in a row, Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So your team is inherently going to be trash. You can't make him happy. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that the media doesn't give you first. They're not going to tell you that first. They're going to tell you how bad the players were playing. They're going to tell you how bad the coach was doing. They're not going to tell you that the owner cut some corners and some costs, and that's why she has certain garbage on the team, so they got to lean on certain players that don't even fit together, et cetera, et cetera. They ain't gonna tell you that. They're just gonna bash the players, say the player wanna leave, he ain't loyal, he didn't stay there. Stay where? Were they doing things wrong? Stay where? Were they not valuing assets at all? Be loyal to what? To the ground from which they stand because they can't get off of it? Man, listen. These players, a lot of them are not in control of how they look on the floor or any of that stuff sometimes, unfortunately. They're definitely getting blamed for it. So we're going to normalize pointing out where a team's foundation is trash. And then the after effects of that lack of foundation will be understood as the stuff that happens afterwards, when you don't have everything you need to help athletes succeed on the basketball floor. It's many an era where that has been the case, where the foundation was absolutely imbalanced. And then they looked at them players and said, man, you didn't win, you didn't get over the hump. And look who he was playing with. And how did those players get on that team in that way? If you do the homework, you're going to find out it was other people who make mistakes. That's it. And they want to keep guys out of the Hall of Fame, keep them from getting accolades, keep them from the All-Star team, want to give this, that to the other person. Man, listen. If the owner wouldn't have did this, the foundation would have been better. The player would have performed better in a better arena that had a better foundation. I want to compare them to other eras and stuff, and they changing the rules and all this. Listen, I'm telling y'all, the NBA needs to start doing things correctly and start normalizing, promoting the understanding of how the hell we got here and why a guy looks as bad as he does. He's on the floor with that dude, and those dudes shouldn't be on the floor with that dude. And if the owner would have did this, and this better, the GM would have did that, and that better, and therefore we'd see a lot of different things too. Right? Because it starts with the people who create the environment. It always starts with them. Who put this together? Who did that? How did it get put together? Did everything go the right way? Okay, then now we can look at the players and say, all right, you got a great foundation. Why you ain't performing? Look at the coaches. Okay, you got a great foundation. Everything is in place for you to perform. Why you ain't doing it? If that ain't the situation in every single circumstance that we're looking at, then we need to ask the question. Seek the context to find out. And don't just listen to those, they're going to tell you what it is, and then you're going to believe and you react, and it's just a bunch of brain-dead nonsense, confusion, creating crap. Gives you no actual understanding as to what it is you should actually be asking for as a fan, etc., etc. Misdirection, telling you to want something that ain't no good, and you bet your money on something that is trash, and you lose that money. I think that's what all of this boils down to. But, nevertheless, we're going to speak freely here because we do not care at all. What we do care about, though, is the brand of basketball being a science, not just basketball as a business. And most importantly, if you put players on the floor to do what it is that they do well with a good foundation, if all 30 teams had reset their situation the right way and all teams were the way they're supposed to be, which is a league that I dream of someday, where there's no incompetent teams because everybody knows exactly how to do everything properly, so it's not kind of if, it's maybe if they're going to get it right. No, they're going to get it right because they're going to have to. Just like you get called for a technical for screaming at the ref, you're going to get fined for doing this wrong, for signing him to a 3-year contract when you should have structurally signed him to a 2-year contract. Now you want to hold on 2 superstar players? Yeah, that's going to cost you a second rounder. That's the type of stuff that keeps your crap in order. Letting these little organizations here and there, like the Lakers, making different mistakes that affect other organizations because of their errors. Now you got to try to fleece this guy. You don't want to make this trade. It locks up the market this way because these guys didn't do what they were supposed to do over there. No. Keep everybody in line. That's what the organization needs to do. Anytime you see these type of little infractions, teams doing dumb stuff, trading THT and Stanley Johnson, young players, for Patrick Beverly, and then bringing him to a situation where they can't make him look good, that should cost you something. You're messing up the entire ecosystem by making bad decisions. They affect other teams. They affect the conglomerate as a whole. If they ref these front offices like they ref these games, maybe we'll see a little more results. See what I'm saying? Maybe we'll see better results. Because the teams, their foundations, it's just as important. This guy's not traveling all over the floor, bricking shots, not rebounding. It's the same damn responsibility, just different people positioned in different places. Sport is still affected by what it is they do. So, this is where we're at, man. This is what it is. Teach us that, ESPN. Make sure that the common layman from NBA fan knows that. That's what they need to know. You know what I'm saying? Not why Carmelo Anthony ain't playing year 20. None of that. No, let's normalize modernizing what is actually right to do in regards to the league. What your team should want, who your players should want, who's current, who's done. Let's normalize all of this. Who's not done that they're just trying to push out of the league. All of this. Let's talk about that. So that's where I'm at with it, man. Let's normalize making things that are correct, easy to absorb, want, and achieve. Instead of people telling us to want something that ain't good for us to want, and then we sit up there losing because of it, while everybody sits there and laughs at our players as they run around looking garbage. No more. BDL 44. Thank you all for watching.